All right, body system review. So we're on to another body system, and this one is going to be the circulatory system because we talked about the digestive system and the respiratory system, and the circulatory system is very intimately connected with those. That's your system of blood vessels. So let's get right into it. What does the circulatory system do? Its job is to carry blood to and from different parts of the body. So you might be asking yourself, well, why do we have blood? And what is the blood carrying? And how does it get pumped? And where is it going? These are great questions that you asked, and we're going to find that out. Let's start with the main parts of the circulatory system. You have your heart, which is its job is to squeeze and pump blood. It is a big, strong muscle, and it's constantly squeezing and pumping blood through your body. Then we have blood, and you can think of blood as like UPS trucks and mail trucks and FedEx trucks that are going down the road carrying different things. And the road are the blood vessels, your arteries, veins, and capillaries. And here you can kind of see it all there. Now, just something to remind you, when blood is deoxygenated, meaning it has low oxygen, it is not blue. Why is it drawn blue? It's to make sure you can tell the difference between an artery and a vein. Okay, why does it look blue? It's just the way that the light reflects and refracts through your skin, and it makes it look blue. It is not blue. Okay, if you don't believe me, look it up. It's not blue. Okay, so let's look at our heart. Your heart is a big, strong muscle. It's got two atria. Atrium is one, atria is plural. We have two atria and two ventricles, right and left. So how does the heart work? Okay, well, blood is going to come into the right atrium and go into the right ventricle, and then arteries start with A, they move blood away. The pulmonary artery is going to take that deoxygenated blood away from your heart, A for away, and take it to your lungs. So that connects us back to the alveoli in the respiratory system. So then they're going to return to the left ventricle, and it's going to get pumped out through the rest of your body. Okay, that's why the left ventricle is a little bit thicker and stronger in muscle. We have this big aorta, this huge artery that's going to help bring the blood to all the parts of your body. So it's full of a special type of muscle called cardiac muscle. It receives like electrical impulses that tell it when to squeeze, because it has to go squeeze the top and then the bottom in that order, and it's constantly doing that. If your heart doesn't receive those impulses correctly, people will get like a pacemaker, and it will just like shock their heart to start like going again, or that's why they use the paddles to like shock your heart and hopefully give it enough of a jolt to start going again. So this is kind of like how I talked about it, the heart and the different things. So your heart has coronary arteries that supply the heart muscle itself with blood. So what's in blood? Blood cells, oxygen, CO2, stuff called plasma, hormones. I know, I'm sure you guys have heard about those. Platelets, waste, which we call urea, which will end up going to your kidneys, your renal system. White blood cells, digested food. So blood's got a lot of stuff in it. Water, there's a lot of stuff in blood. That's part of the plasma. So let's take a look at some blood inside of a blood vessel. This is a vein. How did I know that? Take a look right here. See this little thing? Veins, starts with V, have valves. Okay, so imagine the blood coming up from your legs, from your feet. It's got to get all the way back up to the heart. How does it fight against gravity to get up there? Well, when your heart pumps, these valves open, and then when your heart ceases that pumping, the valves close, and any blood kind of gets caught up by those valves, and your heart pumps and it goes again. So the red ones are, surprise, red blood cells. The white ones are white blood cells, which fight disease. The red ones carry oxygen and CO2. And you have platelets. They help to heal like wounds and things, and will help rebuild if there are cuts. So what's blood made out of? So a little bit more than half of your blood is fluid called plasma. And the other half, it's a 45%, so it's not half and half completely, are the solids like your blood cells and platelets. So here's maybe what it looks like. Okay, it's all packed with stuff, and that's why your blood looks very red. It's so packed full of these red blood cells. There's many different types of white blood cells, by the way. There's T cells, B cells, Some of them will produce antibodies that fight off disease. Some of them are macrophages, which will swallow up bacteria and diseases. But the red blood cells, that's kind of what we're concerning ourselves about, are the delivery trucks that deliver oxygen and also take away and then deliver to the lungs CO2. And we have the plasma, and dissolved in the plasma is your food, your digested food and your nutrients. So your blood has to go to all your cells and deliver the oxygen and the food. What for? Cellular respiration, to make energy. So this yellow part, if we were to separate out blood through a centrifuge, is plasma, and then white blood cells and red blood cells. Your plasma is mostly water. So what about the solids in your blood? Most of those solids in your blood are red blood cells, and then a tiny little bit of that is white blood cells. So a little bit more than half of your blood is plasma. Then of the solid part, that 45%, 43% is red blood cells. So most of that is red blood cells, and then 2% white blood cells. So here's a red blood cell. It holds oxygen. It's flat. It has no nucleus. It doesn't really have organelles because it has to use all that space to carry oxygen. And they're squishy, like the little squishy things I have on my desk that I don't have right now because I'm kind of cleaning up for the end of the year. And it can squeeze to fit through these tiny little capillaries. Not a car can't do that. So, white blood cells, some of them eat and digest microorganisms like bacteria and viruses that don't belong. So here's a pretty one. They might make antibodies or antitoxins to help you fight off disease or break down toxin. Very important to our immune system. Then we have platelets. They're bits of broken off cells and stuff. They can produce enzymes to form a little net to capture red blood cells and stop your blood from clotting, or to help, like if you get cut or scraped. I scraped myself the other day. I guess it's right here. If you can see it. So this little scabby thing that's formed is because platelets kind of came up and trapped the red blood cells, so they wouldn't escape anymore. So where is blood made? It's made in your bone marrow. If you remember, a few years ago, I told you my mom had leukemia, and so that's blood cancer. So her bone marrow was producing cancerous blood cells. So she needed, and other people who need, who have leukemia, maybe need a bone marrow transplant to get healthy bone marrow to help their bodies make healthy blood cells again. So that's where your blood is made, in your bone marrow. So what kind of blood vessels do you have? There are arteries. A for away, they take blood away from the heart. And V for veins. Veins have valves that, and veins bring the blood back to your heart. And there are tiny capillaries that connect the arteries and veins. So the arteries are like I-95 and then highways and streets. You can call those arterioles and venules. And then the tiny little driveway that leads to a cell, which you can think of as like your house, is a capillary. They can be very, very small. So this is what I talked about. Arteries move blood away from the away from the heart. They're always drawn as red because the blood they carry has oxygen. Veins bring the blood back to the heart. They're usually drawn as blue because they carry waste and CO2, and they have valves to stop the blood from going back the wrong way. And like I said, they're not blue. We dye them blue when we dissect creatures, and they appear blue because of the way that the light refracts through your skin or bends through your skin. And capillaries link arteries and veins. This is where materials exchange to your cells. Oxygen is dropped off, CO2 is picked up. Nutrients are dropped off, waste is picked up. And they sometimes are only one cell thick, and blood might have to go through single file. Okay, you can release heat through capillaries. That's why you might turn red when your cheeks feel hot if you're embarrassed, or if you go outside, your cheeks get all red, or they get red when you exercise. So take a look at the summary, see if you can summarize these things for yourself. And if you can, you learn something. If not, pause it at certain places, look at another video of someone who's maybe smarter or better than I am. So yeah, I hope that helped. Here's the answers. Maybe you stopped watching, but here are the answers. Bye.